long lens close-up is so beautiful, but there's a safety to it. And the whole point was like, I never wanted the audience to ever feel safe, that as much as I could feel like we're there, if I could, that was one of the things I was very excited about, the opportunity to potentially create what it's like cinematically to be in these stand-up comedy rooms and to be on stage.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, a man's unraveling marriage leads him to discover a comic talent in director Bradley Cooper's comedic drama, Is This Thing On? The film tells the story of Alex, a middle-aged man facing a divorce who finds new purpose in the New York comedy scene. As he pursues his comedy, his wife Tess confronts the sacrifices made for their family, forcing them both to navigate co-parenting and their changing identities. In addition to Is This Thing On?, Cooper's other directorial credits include the feature film Maestro. He received 2 DGA Award nominations for 2018's A Star Is Born for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in both feature film and first-time feature film. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Cooper spoke with director Bennett Miller about filming Is This Thing On? Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
They seem to like it. So how did this one come about?
First of all, I just want to thank Bennett for being here. It means a lot to me. I'm a major admirer of all of your work, as I'm sure hopefully most of you know his work and can say the same. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Yes, thank you. This was a peculiar one because it sort of happened out of a conversation with Will Arnett, who I've been friends with for about 25 years. And he just happened to be talking about what he was working on, about a movie that was he was developing with his writing partner, Mark Chappell, in Searchlight in the UK, about this guy, John Bishop, who's an actual comedian who does very well now and like sells out arenas. But his origin story is he was working in, it wasn't finance, he was selling life insurance, I think, oddly enough. I probably should have wrote that instead. That would have been maybe too on the nose. But he then broke up with his wife, and then he was walking to a pub one night and didn't want to pay the cover, and they said, well, you can just put your name down, you don't have to pay it. He was like, oh, okay. And then they call his name up, and he didn't realize it was, so now he had to go on stage and do a set. It was an open mic night. And so he just started talking about his divorce, and he got a couple of chuckles, and he kind of fell in love with it and started going back. And then months later, he was going up more and more, and his estranged wife, with a couple of her friends, happened to go to the same pub that he was at while he was talking about his wife yet again in another set. And I just thought, wow, if I wrote that, the studio was like, maybe that's a little, but at least I could say it like I'm saying to you, it actually happened. So don't accuse the writer. But I just thought, what a great sort of these 2 anchors. And then
but you could do anything.
What's that?
You could do anything. Why this?
Yeah, so he was telling me about this story, and then I just saw Will Arnett, and I saw him, which wound up being in the movie. I just had this visual image of his face, and that voice, and just to me, he looks like Robert Mitchum, and I just was like, oh, that's interesting. And I moved to New York when I was for grad school, and I got this movie, Wet Hot American Summer, and so I had. Thank you again. This is great. You're here for me. Thank you. And then all of a sudden, I knew nothing about the Upright Citizens Brigade or the state or any of these things. So all of a sudden, I found myself finally, going out and going to watching, observing, and then I went to the cellar. And Richard Pryor's my hero, but I'd never been to live comedy in my life up until that point. So I just completely entrenched myself into that world. And then so this idea of him, I just thought, oh, well, it wasn't set in New York. And I thought, what if we set it in New York? And that script was much more about him becoming a stand-up comedian. And I thought, what's this relationship with his wife? And that's it's all just, you know how it happens. You get this one image and then you can't get it out of your mind, and things start to percolate. And then as life goes on, it all starts happening. I was at my daughter's assembly at her school, which is actually the school that we shot in, St. Luke's in the West Village. And there was this Chinese Lunar New Year celebration going on, and I thought it was a dragon, but it's a lion, because I did listen. But there were other parents there who were on their phones, and I thought, this is the beginning of the movie. He's catatonic. This is how we could do it. And I thought we can end the movie there. And it just started building organically while I was actually finishing the Maestro, because I was on a hiatus. And so I said, you know what? It's in my blood now. Like, can we rewrite it, and could I direct it? And then he said, yeah. And then it just started. And if there's like one reason, it's like, I feel like Will Arnett. I know him so well. He's the funniest guy when he walks into a room. He's so charismatic, but he's never had an opportunity in his work to do what I think that he's clearly capable of. So for me to be in any way a part of shepherding that to you, I felt it was very exciting to me. Very exciting.
And if I may, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but
you're allowed to do it.
Shepherding is a good word, because I did see an earlier cut of this.
Yeah.
And I guess it was all there, somewhere in there. But what you did from that early cut to this cut that we just saw is pretty extraordinary.
Oh, thank you.
And you had to have seen it in him, because I didn't completely see it in the first cut.
Yes.
Can you talk about the editing and how you go about it? You've always been involved, even in movies that you're in.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I'm obsessed with movies since I was a kid. I just never had really anybody to talk about it with. So that was also one of the reasons why I wanted to set in New York. New York was the first time I didn't feel like such a wacko, or people getting annoyed that I was talking about movies too much, that I felt like-minded people in this city. So that was part of also why I thought the culture of the cellar was a great place for him to find this arena where process, it's not about him being funny, it's about the process of being more comfortable expressing yourself. But I'm digressing. What was the nature of it? Oh, yes. So
editing.
Yeah. So I've always loved, and editing is the best part of movie making. The hardest part is writing, but editing is the most fun. And I've been doing it, luckily been able to be in editing room since this television show Alias, and David O. Russell was so kind for me to be able to be a huge part of that, and it just kept progressing. So I knew what I had, so as a director, right, as you're shooting, you're editing, at least, you're constantly thinking, and if you call audibles on the day, it's always like, then how does that work out? And you play the movie out. So I had all these different lines in my head, and then as you pursue them, what doesn't work. And I still remember when you came over, and it was very much like everything you were saying I was agreeing with, and then we were able to enjoy our meal, because it was like, yes, and I know exactly what to do. And then because of the way I shot it, it's mostly one camera, and it's mostly the single take. I just knew the edges of what to take off. I remember this other one where he did this thing, and it was really just like that. It was all there. It was like I could just reframe it all just like that.
So one.
But by the way, and a great editor, I work with Charlie Green and his crew. That also made it possible for us to do it in such a short amount of time, because the studio wanted it to come out this year, which I had no idea that it would. So we had to take 2.5 weeks out of our post, which, as you know, is a lot of time. And I'm like you, I love a tremendous amount of prep, and I love a very long post, because it's just necessary.
How many days did you shoot?
33. Yeah.
So mostly single camera.
Yeah.
The entire film is shot with one lens.
Yeah.
Pourquoi?
Yeah. That was a bit of a point of contention. Again, I also like to test a lot of footage and make a proof of concept before I start a movie. I find it invaluable. For like mood boards, or like picking stuff from other movies to describe the movie I want to do, I never could get my head around it at all, because I just start thinking about those other movies and the performance of that snapshot, and then I'm out of the movie that I'm trying to think of. So it doesn't, the process that works for me is actually going to the places, or imagining what it could be and shooting with the actors and testing lenses and cameras. So in that process in New York, Matty Libatique, who's a wonderful cinematographer, who actually is in the movie, he plays one of the stand-up comics with the beanie and the gloves. He now lives in New York. And Will was here, so we were just testing. We landed on the Venice, and we were testing different lenses. And I always knew I was going to shoot New York handheld. I thought maybe I would be on a dolly or maybe steady at the suburbs. And I was like, no, the whole movie has to be one vision. And I love the 1:6:6:1 aspect ratio for this film. It just feels like the way I experienced New York. It just felt like the compositions can be beautiful, but the characters are always the stars of the composition. And the 40 just fit perfectly with that. And every time I would change the lens size for a different depth, I was like, no. And I really wanted, a long lens close-up is so beautiful, but there's a safety to it. And the whole point was like, I never wanted the audience to ever feel safe, that as much as I could feel like we're there, if I could, that was one of the things I was very excited about, the opportunity to potentially create what it's like cinematically to be in these stand-up comedy rooms and to be on stage. So to me, that's why we landed on the 40, and that's why we landed in that aspect ratio and handheld.
Yeah, I bumped on it a little bit when I first, but again, whatever you did in the edit between then and now, there's a cohesion to it and to the style, which seeing it not totally baked made me respect it all the more, because I had no issue with it. Well, just one shot, but we don't have to discuss that one shot.
That's okay. It's okay. It's always one shot.
So Laura Dern, tell us the story.
Yes. Yeah. Laura Dern. So Laura, here's the other thing that I had a huge advantage, and probably why I was able to rewrite it so fast and shoot it so fast, was because both of these people are dear friends of mine. And then the opportunity to write a character when you already have the actor is wonderful. And so both Will and Laura were a part of the project while we are writing, really, Alex and Tess. So, and she's also hyper intelligent and a very good writer herself. So it was very much a collaborative experience. And I always wanted to base it on someone I'm very close to, this character of a volleyball player and a striker and all that stuff. And I was sharing all this with her, and she's tall and she's broad shoulders, but she's never played, team sports in her life. She's been acting since she was a kid. And I wanted her to challenge herself. I was like, if Laura's going to be kind enough to do something, I don't want it to be a walk in the park for her. I really want it to be something where, it'll be a struggle, and she hopefully will feel that at the end of it, that she learned something or feels like she accomplished something different. And it very much was that. This was not an easy character for her to inhabit. And it prompted her to go to places that she hadn't gone, and it was a wonderful experience. It's always great to see, these great actors start at zero and having to go at zero, and the struggle of it. Like a tiny scene, like the volleyball scene, where it's seconds, where she's just jumping up and spiking the ball. That was not easy to shoot for her at all. And she's with these other real volleyball players, and to see the vulnerability and just the willingness to keep applying herself was very moving to me. And that's really the way it was for the whole movie. Even her posture, the rhythm with which she spoke for the most part, her point of view, all of it was something. And then her intimacy with Will, they didn't really know each other. And because we had to shoot it so fast, and most of it are 2 to 3 takes, if that, it had to be, everybody had to show up ready to rock, and they put the time in. We did a tremendous amount of preparation. So just seeing her addition to there is no movie without her, and certainly Will would echo this, what she was able to help bring out of Will, and he and her was again, one of the reasons why I was so excited to do this movie.
They just work together.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And were you always going to be in it? And how did you?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you had the funniest lines.
Yeah, what's that about?
This is one of the notes that we talked about. I said, you gotta, stop stealing the scenes. And I don't know if you changed yourself, but everything else rose, and you just sort of fit right in there. But when you're shooting these things, are you are you improvising, or I mean, how do you direct yourself?
It's a great question. And maybe that's why I wound up operating this movie, was because my experience directing in the previous two movies is actually being on the field as the actor. And again, it's the crew. It's Maddie, it's Mango, it's Scott Sakamoto, it's Steve Morrow. It's like we're all, my memory and the experience is not the actor and the director. It's like 9 people making the movie, and there's no video village. No one goes back. It's all rhythmic. We don't stop. I'll watch it, 2 times forward with no sound if I question anything. But in this one, I didn't, because I was operating about 90% of the movie, so we didn't have to waste time on that. And it just, so acting. I'm so used to it. You know what I mean? So those were. It was very easy. In fact, it was a little harder because I wasn't operating so much. Although actually in the wide shot, it's not me. When they're walking back up to the house, that's Jared. That's the stand-in dressed like balls. So because I wanted to shoot it. So but other than that, the only thing it was a little. But Scott Sakamoto was incredible, and we had worked together. Legendary camera operator. Who we were blessed enough to do the movie. But I think I just feel comfortable in that. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've always thought of the big picture, and that's why directors have allowed me to be in the editing rooms with them. I was lucky that they got that, because from the time I was on like a commercial, I just love it. I love what everybody's doing, and that's what I'm taking in. And early on, and Ellen Burstyn said this, which is so true. Like there was like a schism, and I remember my sort of development as an actor, where like you block out the dolly track that you walk over and pretend the camera's not there, and like that takes so much energy. And then I remember one day I was like, well, no, they're all here, and I can hear them talking, and they're talking to each other because they're going closer. And so why is that bothering me? Like we're all making believe. Like just make the bubble not here, make the bubble here. And the minute I did that, it was like, for me, it was freedom. So that's how it is for directing. Even if I'm in the scene, like I remember in Maestro, there's this moment where I'm hugging Carey Mulligan, and she just found out she had cancer. And the shot was a push in from the dolly from back. And I remember I hadn't said push in at that moment. And she's crying. And I'm going, Mango, push in. Because I knew you couldn't see me because it's my back. And thank God. So really, it's the other actors that are the ones that I have to apologize to, because I'm constantly talking while I'm acting. But no, the Charlie, certain lines of balls was improvised. But I was acting with a dog, so you had, he was an incredible actor. So I was just listening to him, and who's actually my dog. Yeah, I was just thinking about that one line when I'm like, I didn't even know I was holding the dog. Yeah.
So speaking of, there's a camera in your face, 40 millimeter, Will is on stage doing his stand-up. You must be this close to him.
Yeah.
And circling him.
Yes.
Did he ever just say,
off?
Throttle back a little bit?
No, in fact, it was the opposite. It really, again, because he trusts me so much, and because this was something that was not out of his comfort zone. I think, like I felt with David O. Russell. I remember I still remember, being across the diner with Jen Lawrence, and he's under the table with a monitor the whole scene, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, you can make movies this way. And every movie I've done since as an actor, I've always asked the director to be close. I mean, we did American Sniper. Clint was like right here. Clint Eastwood was right here when I was shooting, because I would ask him to. And he's like, yeah, there's the kid. You got to shoot this little and and remember, sometimes it was too funny. I was like, Clint, I can't concentrate. But I do love, for me, I basically create an atmosphere that I feel comfortable as an actor. That's what I try to do.
Did you struggle with anything?
With anything? I mean, every day is a struggle. Every day, hopefully.
What was your biggest struggle?
I think that the biggest struggle was, there were two. One was having the confidence enough. Like first I thought the whole crew's gonna, who's this asshole who's now gonna operate the camera, and so I really wanted them to see how serious I was about it and to earn their respect, which had nothing to do with making the movie. and that was a distraction. And the minute I let that go, and I thought we're all here together, and Matty was a huge part of that. I would have conversations with him on the phone. He's like, bro, just do the work. We're all here for the same thing. And he was so helpful. And then the other thing was just making sure that Will was as open as possible all the time, and not acting and just starting at zero, and then the other struggle is you're on the streets of New York, and there's most of the people are not in the movie, and you're signing to get waivers afterwards, and you're hoping as I'm strapped into the dolly, we're going across 6th Avenue to get the night shot, and the cops are nice enough to say we can do it in between the light change, but then after that we're done. That's a struggle. The logistics of it. And then just trying to capture magic, right? Like, if like that vampire scene, and like telling him to avoid the camera, and hoping that Will is going to understand that we're going to be able to create this rhythm together and get this rhythm.
Is this what you're like on set? Are you just enthusiastic, energetic?
No doubt. Yeah. And it all is organic, because I just can't believe I'm there, and I love it. So I just love it so much. And I'm surrounded by people that love it so much. And that's infectious.
And Bradley Cooper, where does your confidence come from?
It's a good question. Sometimes I'm amazed. I don't even see it as confidence. I think it's just love of doing it. It doesn't feel like confidence at all. It just feels like curiosity mixed with enthusiasm.
I know we're not supposed to take questions, but I'm looking at people's faces, and I'm thinking we should take a couple.
Let's do it.
The milk scene in the beginning, pratfall.
It's so funny. Yeah, it was a very choreographed thing. I would be almost like a kicker. I remember it'd be like if I do that, but because I have to land, the milk has to go there. Yeah, so I have to the milk was open, and I have to make sure if I 1, 2, and then kick, and I land there. And then the thing, and because we did 3 different shots of that. We did a whip pan, which is what we used. We were over Will's shoulder, and then a wide from Andrew. I didn't know which was be the funniest.
What did you learn?
I fell in love with operating. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot to learn, and there's one thing about just operating handheld. There's another thing learning about the wheels, and there's so many aspects of camera operating that I know nothing about in terms of being fluent in it, and I would waste a lot of time and a lot of takes. But it felt like a wonderful way to explore cinema in a very immediate way. It is like, as Mango, who's a dolly, said, the best, it's like, you're the catcher in the game or the pitcher. It's like, it's the best position to be in. If you're operating that camera, it's just, there's nothing, it's everything. You're watching the movie in real time happening in front of you. But it depends. Like the next thing I'm writing, I probably I don't know. The answer is I don't know. But it was a huge part of what I loved about this experience personally.
It's not your first time.
It is the first time. Like, yeah. I mean, I've operated stuff like for other proof of concepts I've done, but it's the first time, like in principal photography with a crew. Being in the union, all of that. That's the first time I've ever done that.
You learn anything from Scotty?
It's everything. As Scott Sakamoto, he's referring to, who's the A camera on this movie, and I met him in A Star Is Born, and I learned a lot from Matty. Matty's a wonderful camera operator, and especially handheld. And Scott Sakamoto's, like, for example, if this movie was Steadicam, I wouldn't have operated anything. And Scott is just, and more than anything is, and I learned so much. Like I didn't know anything that like the lens would fog up, because halfway I'm like, wait, and I would say to him like, and just how you have to be relaxed. I was so tense at the beginning, and just you have to relax and you have to zen out. I didn't know anything, and then where am I going to put my vertical, all that. And then the biggest thing that I kept doing is I'd be like watching something, and I was like, oh guys, that was so wonderful, and the camera just goes up into the air. I was like, oh.
Take your eye off.
I was like, this is so good. This is so good. I knew there was going to be a musical performance by the children at the end of the movie in the same location as the beginning. That it's going to be bookmarked by this two assemblies. Oh, repeat the question. Sorry. Was the song Under Pressure always going to be in the movie? Originally, rhythmically, the whole movie was going to be to the drum beat of the Chinese Lunar New Year that I heard in that assembly, and then it just overpowered it too much. But that's what I started to edit with. But I still loved it, so then I switched to an oral rendition of it based on all the music is stems of Under Pressure, all the score you hear. But it was another song, but I knew it wasn't really the song. I don't know if you do this, but you can't sort of deal with everything at once, so you'll have placeholders in your mind that maybe you don't even tell people, but you know, and you're like, I'll have to circle back to that at some point. And so that's what that song was. And then Laura Dern just happened to send me Ben Harper and Eddie Vedder doing a live cover of Under Pressure, and I just heard it, and I was like, this is it. And Ron Nahas, who was the music teacher at St. Luke's, my daughter's school, does these mentions every Friday where he's a wonderful musician, and there's just a jubilation in that room. And I said, he's the guy. So I said, do you think we could cast students, my daughter's classmates, and we did, those two girls, or go to St. Luke's, and he worked with all of them, and we did it all, and he's the guy that jumps up there in the end. And I was like, I just want to capture that. If there's a way I could cinematically just capture that moment of his jubilance and his energy. So it really was Laura Dern. A long way of saying Laura Dern sending me that text was when Under Pressure. And then it all just clicked. It's like, oh, these two voices that shouldn't work together but do. And that's really why I went to a cappella at the end. So just to make it clear, it's like these two voices and the words. But I did set myself up. It's very low-hanging fruit. And I was like, this could be just when you go like, yeah, this movie sucks, So it's either going to work or like the nail in the coffin.
I mean, if it wasn't there, I would feel like in a free fall.
Yeah.
But this is something else in the editing, but also just in the conception, the shape of the thing and how it goes from, a weightiness and gravitas to humor, to, the big fight, the epiphany, and then a catharsis at the end. Do you map those beats out as when you're working on the script? Are you thinking about it in terms of this kind of shape?
Always thinking about it in terms of waves when I'm shooting it and when I'm writing it, in terms of like waves, and especially if I know where my North Star is, it always helps in a major way. But I did again think like I wanted to structure in a way that it really all hangs on, well, first of all, the rhythm of hopefully surfing the waves of brevity and then the drama, but really you're leaning into these two people because you don't really know anything. It starts with just an aside, really, and then you don't get any real nourishment, verbally at least, till that scene in the attic in the end. But I thought that that felt like life to me. Again, it's like, being a dad of an 8-year-old daughter and meeting a lot of married couples and people who have watched people get divorced. Like, it's just not what I've experienced. It's stuff like this. I think maybe you even said it or somebody did about, two boats that look like they're going in the same direction. And then if you just switch like that, 4 knots later, they're there. And that to me is something I wanted to explore in a relationship.
And the same with it coming back.
Exactly. Will is and John Bishop. So I'm glad you brought that up. So that's why he's singing the song in the bathroom, giving him, pepping himself up, and that's why he has the Liverpool T-shirt at the end. But no, I'm a major football fan of the Eagles. Won tonight and just won the NFC championship.
All right.
Thank you.
By the way, Philly fans out there, if you're into the cheesesteak, there's a wonderful place downtown. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, let's spend the last minute 50 on it. Yeah, Danny and Coops, 151 Avenue A. Come on, 12 to 7, Wednesday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Make our own bread.
It's the best cheesesteak.
It is good. It's a good cheesesteak.
Certainly in New York City, but just don't eat more than a half at a time.
Right, take the other half home.
Take the other half home.
The other thing I'm obsessed with is Apollo bagels, and that's why Balls brings those bagels. Yeah, and they were fresh, and we shot it fast because I wanted to eat that fresh hot bagel. Right, aren't those Apollo bagels insane? Yeah.
But just a final note,
Yeah.
You made a beautiful film, and the whole thing just feels in the socket. Will's extraordinary, Laura Dern's extraordinary. The whole thing came together. I'm so impressed and happy for you. Thank you for making this.
Thank
film.
you, Bennett. Thank you. Thanks for coming. And happy holidays, everybody.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.